Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of The Suited Shootist. And what I want to touch on today, as the as the title suggests, is the mantra that some gun is better than no gun. As with many of these slogans and tropes that exist, there is an element of truth to it, but it tends to get overused and tends to get used with an inappropriate audience. And so here's what I mean by that. Daryl Bulkey, Caleb Giddings, both have talked about expert guns versus novice guns. Bulkey is fond of a double action trigger, something like a Beretta, for the novice because it allows for a wider margin of error. If you ever get a chance, spend some time with him talking about kind of his definitions of getting into trouble guns versus getting out of trouble guns. And Caleb did his revolver U-shaped utility curve, kind of the same thing. For the novice and the expert, it is a very useful tool, but for different reasons. And so what that really means when it comes to what I'm getting at is this. If you're talking with someone who is either considering buying a firearm or has just purchased their first firearm, I'm not a big fan of the some gun is better than no gun attitude, because that statement as a standalone suggests that the gun is the solution. And typically in those circumstances, it's used to justify suboptimal gear choices. And, that can be anything from a brand that has a less reliable track record to something that is almost a pure novelty, like one of those North American Arms 22 single action revolvers. Once you get to a certain degree of competency, both with the firearm and as well as the other corresponding skill sets of the defensive practitioner, then at that point, yeah, some gun is better than no gun. Daryl is also, fond of saying that when he goes to the lake, he will run a J-frame in his Enigma in his board shorts, and his attitude is that, if there was a Red Dawn style invasion, is he well equipped to address that? No, but if he's the only guy on the beach with a gun, then the kind of gun he has is less material, especially with his degree of skill set and his abilities. And that's the critical part, because honestly, I am of the opinion that most folks that kind of have that knee-jerk fear response of, oh my God, I need to buy a gun, would be best served initially with a $12 can of pepper spray and a copy of Gavin DeBecker's The Gift of Fear. And, possibly if you want to add to the library from that, the Straight Talk on Armed Self-Defense book that Masad Ayub helped compile with the myriad of subject matter experts, all talking about various facets of this space. And honestly, it's because some gun is better than no gun, in my mind, gets dangerously close to that talisman attitude of, oh, well, I've got the gun, so I'm good. And at the very least, it can be a gateway to that style of thinking. I can tell you that when I am out in the world, if I'm, dressed like this, and the only thing I've got on me is my little Keltec, I am deeply aware of the fact that this is a less than ideal defensive firearm. However, what that does is it simply affects my game plan. So if it's risk analysis more than anything else, I realize that I'm not taking 25-yard headshots with this thing. I'm not saying that nobody can't. I'm just saying that for me, my skill set, my ability, I'm not taking 25-yard headshots with a P32. Now, if I'm in a situation where I'm running my Glock 19 with a red dot, that gives me more capability at greater distance. And so that simply then impacts the other decisions that I'm trying to make. The thing to keep in mind is that once the gun comes into play, it's reactionary. This is all reactionary. And so it's the easiest part to fixate on, but there is so much that goes into the before side of the equation that that gets glossed over and gets missed. Everybody likes to focus on the decide and action piece, but not as much the orient and observe. And so if you are going to suggest to somebody that some gun is better than no gun, at the very least, make sure that you're addressing the limitations of that some gun. Because, yeah, North American Arms, Bulldog is better than a sharp stick in the eye. However, if the person carrying that Bulldog has a false sense of their capabilities and a false sense of security because of it, they are potentially going to be less vigilant and not take the necessary preventative measures that should otherwise be taken. So I know this is going to probably be a less popular video. I fully expect some comments that are responding purely to the title without having watched it. But let me know what you think. I want to hear it. Am I off base on this, or is it something that kind of warrants expansion? Put it down in the comments. And if you like conversations like this, the Bespoke Solutions Facebook group, we talk about this sort of thing, wardrobe development, integrating your tools with your wardrobe. And if you're getting mileage out of the channel and you want to support it directly, my Patreon is active. We had a live stream a couple weeks back with a friend of mine who I helped kind of walk through and consulted him on selecting his wedding suit. And it was really insightful because he was one of these guys who... he's kind of who I talk about when I mention the idea of the necktie being offensive to somebody. So it's definitely worth a watch. And so sign up for the Patreon and you'll get a kick out of that. Aside from that, hope everybody has a fantastic week. Stay dangerous and stay sharp.